Pick him out. I'll just put this on you.
Usually here. Here. Just there.
Hello. I like how you've got your name upside down. I think that's pretty awesome.
Barrel balls.
Look at
Go ahead, Michael.
Particularly if somebody on crew trying to contact Viacom, there is a constant pressing of the radio on 551 and 3 over.
Negative, Michael.
See that?
Well, good morning. I'm Mark Ayres, the current First Officer of Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade, and welcome to this momentous occasion, the 50th anniversary of the formation of the Beechmont Bushfire Brigade, as it was called back then. I'd just like first off to invite Kim Crow, our second officer, to come up to the podium to do Welcome to Country.
I would like to acknowledge the Yugambeh, the traditional custodians of this land on which we gather today. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and the hopes of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people across our nation.
Thank you, Kim. I would just like to welcome our distinguished guests today, John Bolger, Assistant Commissioner of the Rural Fire Service, John Krause, State Member for Scenic Rim, Councillor Virginia West, Scenic Rim Regional Council Division 4, and Area Director Joe Cullen from South Coast Rural Fire Service Office. Very especially like to thank the founding members. We actually have 3 of the founding members present here today, which is amazing. And one of those is still active and serving the community at Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade, which is awesome. And we'll meet them a little bit later on. So I'd like to thank the founding members and the family who have come along to represent founding members as well. It's, some of you have travelled a distance, so I thank you for that. I would like to thank the Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade members who are attending today and all the work that they've done to get this event up and running, community and visitors and people that have come from distance as well to join us today. Neighbouring Rural Fire Brigades, we've got a few members from different brigades around the area. Tamborine, Rathdowney, Lower Beechmont and Mount Tamborine are all represented. Just a brief overview of the program. You have a copy of the program, hopefully. We'll have next up Assistant Commissioner John Bolger will address the audience. Then we'll have Joe Cullen, South Coast Area Director, to do a medal presentation. Then we're having a handover. We've just recently taken, or today we're taking over the new Beechmont 4-1 vehicle which is amazing. Then we'll be having one of the founding members come up, Ben Slingsby, and our secretary to do some presentation of certificates, and then a cake or two, and then some lunch. So I'd like to invite Assistant Commissioner John Bulger up to speak. Thanks, Troy.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Mark. It's a privilege to be here, and thank you, Kim, for that welcome to country. We are on the traditional lands of the Yugambeh people, and that's something that we all hold dear. But a beautiful welcome to country. Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of MP John Krause, Councillor Virginia West, our Area Director Joe Cullen, Dave Sewell, our Area Training Officer, Chaplain James Pearce from the ADF today, of course Mark, First Officer, thank you for your warm welcome, and thank you all, the people I've met to date so far, for your warm welcome today. It's wonderful. I'd also like to acknowledge three people in the crowd here: Vincent Slingsby, Bernie Jordan and Ron Heslop, our three foundation members. And I certainly do look forward to meeting you all after this formal part of the morning. Around 3 weeks ago, I was the Assistant Commissioner in Far Northern Region based in Cairns. So I'm very happy to say that I've brought some of that beautiful far northern weather with me. But in our previous Commissioner's inimitable style, Katarina Carroll, she decided just before she left that she would have a bit of a shake-up of the executive. So I was at home and the phone rang. There was the Deputy Commissioner on the phone. He said, "John, I have a new adventure for you." And I said, "I'll take it, boss." And he said, "You don't know what it is." I said, "I've never said no ever in my fire service career, and I've always been rewarded." And the reward I received was to be the Assistant Commissioner of the Rural Fire Service. So I'm very proud to be here. And I can certainly say that I will be an advocate for rural fire service in my tenure while I'm here. I was talking to our Acting Commissioner, Mike Wassing. I'm sure he's well known to many people here. Mike's sitting in the role until we find ourselves a new Commissioner. But Mike passes on his warm regards. Only a little further north from here in the Brisbane Valley today, we've got well over 100 rural firefighters and fire and rescue firefighters in an exercise, pre-season exercise for that part of the region. Last year, I know that this time last year up in far north Queensland, we were fighting a fire that went for 35 days and 35 nights, and that travelled right down through the centre of the state and along the coast. And for a little while there, last year I was the Deputy Commissioner, and I ordered the evacuation of a town called Gracemere. And it was particularly pertinent to me on that day because my daughter and grandson were there. So it really hit home in a community how we can be so quickly touched by fire and emergencies. Beechmont today, I've never been here today, and I've got to tell you it's spectacular, and I'll certainly be bringing my family back to have a good look around. But 50 years today, we're celebrating 50 years of the Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade, Rural Fire Service, in what is our 70th year of Rural Fire Brigade. So that's a good achievement in itself. We have QFES medals and national medals to hand out today, and most importantly, again, with the upgrade in the Rural Fire Service fleet, very proud to be here on behalf of the Commissioner to hand over a brand new fire appliance. Has it been tested yet? Not yet. Well, one thing that's inevitable in all these new shiny yellow trucks we deliver, it's not a very long time at all before we use them. So once again, it's a privilege for me to be here to acknowledge the service of Rural Fire Service volunteers, to acknowledge 50 years of commitment to the community. And it's a wonderful community, and very often Rural Fire Brigade stations, Rural Fire Brigade sheds, are the hub of the community. And I dropped in for a quick cup of tea at the cafe on the way in, and the lady in the cafe was just so proud of Beechmont to be part. The new church, the new bridge, the new schools, the new roads. It's a happening place. So I'll close on that, but I just really want to say that it's a genuine privilege for me to be here, and it's a genuine privilege for me to be the Assistant Commissioner of the Rural Fire Service and those 33,000 fantastic volunteers. So thank you.
Thank you very much, John Bolger, Assistant Commissioner. I'd like to call on Joe Cullen to please come up and introduce yourself, and we'll begin the medal ceremony.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everyone. Joe Cullen, I'm the Area Director for South Coast Area. And what a day, what a glorious day. The weather is absolutely perfect, and I'm really excited to be up here with all you to celebrate 50 years of Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade. It was on the drive up here. One of the things I like to do in the morning is like wind the windows down and meander through the hills, and it took me back to growing up in this part of the world. I grew up in Canungra. We spent a lot of time up on Beechmont and around the Gold Coast, so I've got family up here still, and as of this week found out that my family's got history in the brigade too. So it's good to come home and be a part of this celebration, and I just want to say congratulations to all of you for this achievement. We'll move on to the medal presentations. We have two medals that we want to hand out today to a number of recipients. The first will be the National Medal. Now, the National Medal was created to recognise long and diligent service with government and volunteer organisations whose members risk their life and safety to protect and assist the community in enforcement of the law or in times of emergency and natural disaster. The other medal we want to present today to some recipients is the QFES medal. Now, this medal is a medal which is in recognition of diligent and ethical service over a period of time. So to achieve the National Medal, you need to have served a minimum of 15 years and upheld a diligent and ethical service. And to achieve the QFES medal, you need to have served 10 years with a Rural Fire Brigade and perform that diligent ethical service also. So without talking too much, we might move on to that. I'd like to invite Mr. Bolger to come forward and present the medals to our recipients. I'd like to call Kim Crow for 21 years service. Tony Crow for 21 years service. Excellent. Arthur Sammy for 17 years service. Wayne Abbott for 33 years service. David Murphy for 32 years service. Phil Rankin for 32 years service.
came up to my patch just in the last fire season and helped us out up in the Atherton ICC. So thank you very much.
Lou Rankin for 32 years service. Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's at the same time.
We'll hold them together. Yes. There we go. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Greg McKenzie for 35 years service.
And 2 clasps.
John Munster for 36 years service. Oh no. We have 2 QFES medals. The first one is to Mark Ayres for 12 years. Dan McKenzie for 15 years service. And our last medal today is a special one. I'd like to call up Vin Slingsby to accept his award for the national medal, first, second and third clasps for 50 years service. Congratulations, Vin. That's a pretty spectacular achievement.
Now, a medal recipient that's not on the list today because we wanted to make it a bit of a genuine surprise. So, a QFES medal for Area Director Joe Cullen.
There you go. Thank you. Oh, a bit overwhelmed now. I wasn't expecting that. Good on you, Phil. Was that you? Yeah, right. Okay. Do we want to do? We want to hand over the truck now. So before Mr. Bulger sits down, I think it's fitting that we invite Vin and Mark to up as well. We might do it in front of the vehicle to get the photo. What do you reckon? Ta-da! You're going to do it ta-da. Yeah. So the new vehicle is a crew cab or a space cab Ford Ranger. Ta-da! It's Beechmont 4.1. It's one of our light appliances. It's one of 190 new trucks that are rolling out across the state.
And we don't deliver Toyotas anymore because I've got a crook ankle. Safe travels.
Congratulations, guys.
Okay, I'd just like to invite John Krause, State Member, if you'd like to say a few words. Put you on the spot.
It's the best way to do it. Thank you, Mark, and thank you to everyone who's here today to celebrate 50 years for the Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade, but most of all, thank you to all of the volunteers here for the Rural Fire Brigade, not just for Beechmont today, but we need to say thanks to everyone across the whole state. And unfortunately, it looks like we're facing another grim fire season in the coming months, but it is reassuring to see that we've got a very good band of volunteers, not just here, but across the whole of my electorate, from Beechmont all the way out to Grantchester near Ipswich. It's very dry out there, and I was talking to someone earlier. They said, don't be deceived by the green grass just out here, because when you look around where the cattle are grazing, it's very, very dry, even up here where you've had a little bit more rain than we have in other parts of the region. But to the founding members and Vin, 50 years service, I saw your name on the list of the petitioners to start the Bush Fire Brigade. Wonderful achievement of 50 years service. Thank you for that. But to all of you who are here today, and people who are members, but not only members, but supporters of the brigade over all of that time, it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes, and all I can say as one of your representatives is thank you for that service, and thank you for your support ongoing into the future as well. And thank you, Mark, for the opportunity to say a few words of gratitude here today.
Thank you, John. Now I'd just like to invite Virginia West, Scenic Rim Regional Councillor from Division 3, to say a few words and also do an unveil.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Look, it's my absolute pleasure to be here today to celebrate with you, and I want to congratulate all the medal winners, the medal recipients today, and also all of those members who have gone before us over the last 50 years, and lovely to see that 3 of you are here today, which is fantastic. Thank you so very much for your selfless contribution to your community, but also to the wider community. I believe it's also special today to thank your families, because they are today the support behind you and have been over the last 50 years. And back in the day when there was a lot of dairying up here, I guess they were the ones who had to take over the milking and all those sorts of things while you were out fighting the fires. So certainly thank you to all of them. I also just want to mention that this Fire Brigade here at Beechmont are much more than just a rural fire brigade. This is a hub when we have a disaster, and hopefully we don't have too many, but we have in the past had cyclone events. And as a council, we always know that everyone at Beechmont is very resilient and you have everything under control, and everyone can come here to this beautiful hub and charge their phones and all those things. So thank you for all of that. The other thing I just want to say in closing was congratulations to Joe, and what a fabulous place to be awarded your medal as well. And thank you.
Okay, Virginia, if you'd just like to go up to the mezzanine level, and you might just have to stand up for a moment and just turn around behind you. The honours board is going to be unveiled.
Timber
from Beechmont.
Thank you very much, Virginia, for unveiling that. I'd like to invite founding member Vin Slingsby and also our Secretary of Beechmont Rural Brigade, Suzanne Noakes, just up to say a few words and do a presentation of certificates for founding members and representatives.
Do what? Ladies and gentlemen and honoured guests, I didn't realise Ronnie and Bernie was going to be here today. It's great. As a founding member, I was fairly young. Very young. My uncles, my uncles were the and Phil's uncle, a father. He was the warden. Alf was the first officer. Arnold was the secretary, I think. Anyway, I think they were the first ones I remember, but I wasn't going to talk about that because other people know a lot more. I was going to talk about fires that only Mick Vivas knows about. Because he's the only old one here. Ronnie remembers them for sure, but he mightn't have been in the area. But the first fire I remember was, I don't remember the date, but I was about 10 years old, went to school up here. There was a fire down in Back Creek, Sharp's place. Anyway, end of school, us kids thought, oh, this is a go. We'll go down and help them put the fire out. So after school, down we go down to the creek and we grab a bush, you know, that's what you had, a leafy bush to bash the fire out. We got to the creek and all we got was, get the hell out of here, you bloody kid. We've got enough trouble with this fire now. We don't want to be looking after you. So that was my first experience of fighting fires. So we went home. After that, probably one of the fire that I think got Beechmont started to get the what are they called, bushfire brigade at the time, was one that came up through back of Arnold Marshall's, right along the front, Southwest Road. Mick remembers this one. And those days, they fought it with a knapsack, a wet bag, and a bushy branch. And that was all we had. And anyway, you couldn't fight the fire till it came out of the paddock. Most of the paddocks were very short because it was dairy farming and it was dry. And this fire came up there and we were at Alf's place and around Vivas, some people around that way, and we were at Alf's, which is this side. And it came up into the gorge there and a piece of rainforest. How many acres are there, Mick? God, about 4 or 5? Yeah. Anyway, we're all waiting for this fire to come out of the gorge, and all of a sudden the rainforest went up like a bomb. And there was a couple of them, I know it was Bobby Rankin and possibly Stan Munster, I'm not sure. There was a couple of them in the creek down near this, and they had to jump into pools of water because of the heat to stop them being injured. So, you know, we've had a couple of fires that have been a bit tricky. We've had the worst two I remember is 91, 94, but everybody knows about them and I might tell a lie. I won't mention that, but after that, the 91 fire is when the younger fellas like Phil, John, Chris, all those young blokes, they took over and they've done a great job in the Rural Fire Service, and now it's a lot better brigades than we had before. The one thing I remember in the 91 fire was we had no walkie-talkies, no phones, and we had Ken Munster and I were sitting there, we had a burning in our place, and Alf and Cliff were sitting over the creek over there with the fire unit, and we yelled and screamed. We couldn't, we could not get in touch with them. They had nothing to do but wait for the fire. We were fighting a fire, and when those yellow walkie-talkie things came in, made a hell of a difference. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
It has been my absolute pleasure contacting not only the members of the original founding members, but the families who are connected to our foundation members. I've spoken to almost all, bar 2 members I have not been able to gather today. But I would like to sincerely thank those who have travelled long distances. My many memories, and I will share those with our videographer Michael later on, of the comments that I got over the phone. But I have to say, Bernie Jordan probably was the most excited person to come today, and the only way I could get Mr. Heslop to come today was to let him know Bernie was coming. And then once everyone knew that Mr. Heslop was coming, then Mr. Vivas wanted to come. And then it was a flow-on effect. And from my heart, thank you so much for allowing me to badger you at night time, follow up, and on behalf of the Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade, we have done up a special recognition certificate, either for yourself or for a family member to come and accept. What we would like to do, similar to the medals, is if you could please, when Vin hands this over to you, if you could pause to just take a photo. Now you can come, as many of you of the family that want to come up, please do so, because we want to really capture this for the future. How do you give out recognition certificates? In alphabetical order. Then at least we're not showing preference to number 1 or number 2, but as we were moving through, I also wanted to make sure and bring your attention to the framed membership that we've got here on the table. So later on, please do take time out to have a look at the founding members and they're signed. There was a few spelling mistakes. I always love it when you go back over official documents, cross it out, start again, put someone else's name in. And I also like to bring special mention to our commemorative booklet that you have and all been given, and the endless hours that has been taken to put that together. And of course, there is a historical committee that helped with that. I'm stopping now, believe it or not. For those of you who know me, that's a first. And I'm just going to hand back over the microphone. And Ablin. No.
Right.
Ablin's family.
Yes, Glenn Ablin family. Yes. Here we are. You have the test. Can you turn this buggy around?
Yeah, hang on. I'll just help Mum.
No, you. My wife's got one of them too.
All right, stand him up and look up. Look up. Oh, Mara. Okay. Okay. Daughter. Thank you. Right. Thank you.
Still chasing those bugs.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, no. Egg Force now.
If you don't mind saying represented by Pearl Ablin, his wife and daughter Mara.
Right. Len was represented by Pearl Ablin and his wife and Mari, his daughter. Mr. Sess Arthey, Cynthia Duncan. Where are we? Right. Mr. Ron Cullen, represented by his son Jimmy Cullen. Thank you. There you go, mate. You hold it up. This thing, yeah. See you later, mate. Mr. Alf Freeman, represented by Essie Freeman and Bill Freeman's son. I have to girls? What's the girl's name? Amanda and Chloe. And Amanda and Chloe. Mr. Ron Heslip, representing himself.
We came to Beechmont in 1955, and the first fire I can remember was a fire that came out of Corcoran's place and was coming up to Arthy's. And Dad and I went out, and there was quite a group of them out there, but we didn't actually have to fight any fire, but we had to just watch that it didn't come up, or stop it when it did come up. And Tommy Mackenzie was the main one at that time. Thank you.
Where are you?
Sorry. There you go.
Mr. Bernie Jordan, third officer, and represents himself. Mr. Brian Kennedy, represented by his daughter Claire Hardkey and his son David Kennedy. Mr. Arnold Marshall, represented by Beryl Ashby, his daughter.
And family, and niece.
And niece.
So this is Elizabeth Harrison, Merva's daughter.
Elizabeth Harrison.
Thank you so much. Dad would have been so thrilled. Thank you.
Look at the house up there.
Yeah.
No. Mr. Bob McGuinness, represented by Duncan McGuinness, his son. Duncan.
Unfortunately.
Maybe he's not here.
I
remember Duncan.
A copy will be sent to him.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Duncan Mackenzie, represented by his wife Phyllis Mackenzie.
Raymond.
You want to come up, Raymond?
And Greg.
Son Raymond, son Greg, grandson Danny. Phyllis has even been here longer than me.
Mr. Pelditch is not here. A copy will be sent to family, though, if you wouldn't mind.
Right. Mr. Harold Pilditch, who isn't here, and a copy will be sent to his family.
A representative for both.
Who?
Sure.
Mr. Bobby Rankin, we all know him.
And Mr. Cliff Rankin.
And Eunice a representative is Eunice Rankin, but is Eunice here?
No, we'll do all, Cliff and Bob, with all the reg.
You got me.
Okay, I know, it's Phil and Lou to come
Rightio.
up, please.
Oh, rightio.
Yes.
And Mr. Cliff Rankin, represented by Phil and Lou, Phil his son and Lou his daughter-in-law.
Thank you. Okay, all right. You in the middle?
Big in the middle.
Thank you. Thanks, Vin.
Mr. Alf Slingsby, represented by his son Chris.
They sent a text to say they couldn't join us. They sent an apology.
They sent an apology, said they couldn't make it today, so something that will be posted to them or sent to them. Mr. Bob Slingsby, represented by his son Errol. Errol? Thank you very much.
Harry Slingsby is Kim and Joe.
Mr. Harry Slingsby, represented by Kim and Joe, his granddaughters. One of you?
Yep, your daddy.
Yeah, miss you.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Noel Teese, unfortunately not here today, or, as in his family.
Mr. Noel Tees, but unfortunately nobody's representing Noel. Couldn't you find him? No, hard to find Noel. Yeah, but he was one of the founding members. Mr. Nev Tony, represented by Trevor, Rodney and Suzanne.
I'm going to send it to them.
Are they all here? I think.
It's all good.
It's all good?
Yeah, Dave Beavers.
Not here? Okay, they're not here today. Mr. Dave Beavers, represented by his son Mick Beavers.
Thank you. Well done.
Good to see you again. Mr. Stan Whitby, represented by Marcia McMahon, his daughter. Best job I've had all day. Oh.
And a special presentation for Vin, along with the medals. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
As well as a plaque we've done up to recognise the 50-year service to the community and the brigade. And again, we thank you for everything you've done for the families of Beechmont.
Oh, thank you. I haven't done I've got down to mowing the lawn now. All right.
Yeah, well done.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne and Vin. And thanks again for all the founding members and their families for coming up. Just a round of applause for them. Thank you. So So the next thing on the agenda is the commemorative cake. Or cakes, should I say. Apparently there's two. One involves fire, so just keep any small children away. There's a fire truck on standby. Just while we're waiting for that, those founding members and their family members, could you please gather out the front just at the very end so we can get a group photo, and also brigade members who receive medals as well. We just mingle out the front, we'll get a quick group photo, thanks. Okay, I'd just quickly like to say a big thank you to Beechmont Royal Fire Brigade members, those who've helped in the catering, historical planning meetings, cleaning and behind the scenes organisation. In that, a big thank you to the ladies in the kitchen, Linda, Leonie, Fran and Tanya. They've done an awesome job. Well, hopefully, we'll taste in a minute. Thank you. I'd like to thank South Coast Area Office, the staff and management. I would like to thank the CWA ladies who help with parking and the tea station and work in the kitchen as well. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Binnaburra Lodge for the delicious scones. Thank you. The Beechmont Recreation, Sports and Arts Association for the loan of the chairs. Thank you very much. Fabric Frenzy Narang for donating the tablecloths. Emily Pearce for graphic design. And again, the founding members for travelling up and experiencing the day with us. Thank you very much. Just a quick note on the food. Any questions? Everything but the taco and chicken is gluten-free. Okay? All the salads are vegan and gluten-free. So enjoy. Thank you very much.
Beechmont Rural Fire Brigade. Happy birthday to you. Hip, hip, hey!
This is the one we're going to eat. Yes. Number one. Everyone hands on.
I'm coming for you later. Oh, yeah.